Judge William Thornton had spent years ruling over cases with unchecked power. In his courtroom, his word was final, and he had a reputation for disproportionately handing down harsh sentences to minorities, especially black defendants. His colleagues whispered about his blatant bias, but no one dared challenge him, until Marcus Reed's case. Marcus, a young black man, stood before the judge, falsely accused of a crime he didn't commit. His lawyer presented solid alibi evidence, but Judge Thornton smirked and dismissed it outright. "Guilty," he declared, slamming his gavel. Gasps filled the courtroom, but everyone knew fighting back was useless. Or so Thornton thought. Sarah Miller, the court stenographer, had seen it all: cases filled with racial prejudice, lives destroyed by wrongful convictions, and a judge who believed himself above accountability. But this time, she had had enough. That evening, she met with investigative journalist Daniel Carter, handing over months of secret recordings and documents. "This judge has been abusing his power for years," she said. "And now, it's time the world knows." Daniel wasted no time. He and his team compiled reports, testimonies, and undeniable proof of Thornton's corruption. The story was bigger than they imagined: evidence of bribes, rigged trials, and connections with wealthy criminals who had bought their way to freedom. It was time for justice. When the investigative report aired, the public's reaction was immediate. News channels covered the scandal non-stop, social media exploded with outrage, and protests erupted outside the courthouse. Signs reading "Justice for the wrongfully convicted" and "No one is above the law" flooded the streets. Under mounting pressure, the Supreme Court announced an official investigation. For the first time in his career, Judge Thornton found himself in an uncomfortable position, being questioned, scrutinized, and held accountable. He scoffed at the accusations at first, but as evidence against him grew, his arrogance began to crack. Judge Thornton, once feared and untouchable, now sat in the defendant's chair. The very court he had ruled over was now deciding his fate. Sarah's recordings played in the courtroom, his racist remarks, his backdoor deals, his blatant disregard for justice. Former defendants testified, revealing how he had sentenced them unfairly. The prosecution left no stone unturned, exposing his entire web of corruption. Thornton, who had once dismissed cases with a wave of his hand, now sat sweating, knowing his fate was sealed. When the verdict was finally read, the courtroom was silent. "Judge William Thornton, you are found guilty." Stripped of his robe and title, Thornton was sentenced to prison, where he would live among the very people he had wronged. The same system he had once manipulated was now his reality. Meanwhile, Marcus Reed's case was reopened, and with overwhelming support, his wrongful conviction was overturned. Outside the courthouse, Sarah, Daniel, and countless protesters celebrated. The system wasn't perfect, but today, justice had won. Corruption thrives in silence. If we don't stand up, injustice continues. If you like the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and press the bell icon.